I'm just going to speak to it rather than put up slides. This is a committee, a project that has developed out of several different organizations around Kingston, New York, that has come out of what's called the bioregional Hudson Valley Bioregional Project. There's another name for it called HERE that has kind of been emerging. That's really about, first of all, from the capital perspective, it's about putting a fund together, a strong enough fund. We're starting with a fund that was seeded and then matched. That's about $4 million that is meant to be divided and sent into essentially 4 different working groups. And some are there. These are grant proposals, essentially meant to catalyze capital in the Hudson Valley uh, for projects specifically that feel like they might be at the tipping point, or that could be at risk of being um, uh, degrading our community in some way or another. So those 3 groups are really 4 groups are focused on culture, shelter, ecology, and food and farming. And this overarching fund, the proposal came forward from the Novo Foundation and from the New World Foundation. And this this small organization started with this goal to be able to provide short and long-term capital to sectors of the community that we feel like are very specifically regionally based. Hudson Valley, which includes roughly a dozen counties up and down the river from Albany down just above New York City. So all of these different projects we started with a committee for a year to kind of decide how we wanted to go about distributing these funds and what kind of projects we might want to be working on. And we decided to build these guilds. And out of these guilds, everyone built a pretty significant list of activists and organizations and projects that were happening in the Valley and started to reach out. And now each one of these guilds has roughly a dozen people that are engaged in each one of them that worked independently to come up with ideas about how to develop an RFP, how to develop the pace for this sort of thing, what kind of projects and what kind of scope would be manageable, and how the vetting of these RFPs would be in terms of distribution. So it's very democratic work. And then from those 4 groups, they shared with each other and found a kind of common denominator to do this. And we have gotten to a place in the process where we are about to release an RFP in July that will be open for 3 months. And so until October. And the purpose is, really to, how do we get, how do we use organizations and funding groups, participating groups, to help kind of align these funds? Because most of the time farmers might get lost in individual asks of small project fundings and that sort of thing. So one of the complexities of this project has been how to organize kind of the layers or the hubs to help redistribute the money. And so we're really talking about how the nonprofits and organizations in the region can act as kind of surrogates to help the money come and be distributed and accounted for the communities that are asking. So there may be, let's say for agriculture, for example, there will be grants made for small infrastructure improvements on farms, anywhere from $10,000 to $250,000 grants that would be offered for collective projects. And so once it comes out, we're encouraging cooperation, not just like I need a new tractor, but if I build a cold storage space on my farm or put in some distribution trucking, can I have several other farms that are engaged in that project and help us get more food to the city, produce, get better access, for example, or improve farmer housing and housing that can help to encourage agriculture in the local community. So it's been a very interesting track, and because of the sort of democratic process of this, it's been complicated and complex dialogue. So one of the other things that we decided to do right from the beginning was to produce a magazine, which is actually going to print soon. And the idea with this magazine is this is essentially the broadcast for this to get the greater community understanding that there is this regional fund, that there are these regional problems that can be resolved, that there is a core group of active people doing this, but everyone in the valley is kind of a team player. So this is a way to try to catalyze funding in a broadcast mechanism, and also to try to use to create this other layer, I guess, that helps to encourage the incredible nonprofits and organizations that are in the Hudson Valley to work closer together in solidarity of more regionally based projects. Stone Barns would be one of those players in that circle, and complement the work that we're already doing. And I think it's a really interesting model. So I guess I can kind of leave it at that for now, because we are just, as I said, for the analogy of planting, the funds are there. Some of the matches have come in to be there. We're just about to put this RFP out in July that everyone will have a solid 3 months. So we'll use the magazine and all the voices from organizations to make sure that everyone who should know about this knows, and that the people that don't have the time in the middle of a season to write grants have support from organizations that do have that kind of resources. So again, layers and support mechanism and network has really been at the core of how this thing has built itself over the past 2 years.
So before, I'd like to share a little bit of context of how Project Biome operates, because it's an organization that really sees itself as the connective tissue between other organizations to facilitate collaboration, both at a bioregional level, starting in South Africa, and also globally. So Farmers Footprint, which is the organization that I lead, is one of the initiatives of Project Biome. And the youth work was a distinct initiative within Project Biome, which I will get to in a little bit, but how we had structured it as its own distinct initiative is shifting to see how we can incorporate youth perspectives and voices across all of our initiatives. And Project Biome really works with organizations that are doing work or related to reconnecting, rewilding, and regenerating is kind of the scope of organizations that Project Biome works with. So just to briefly speak to our approach in engaging youth, all of our programmings have been grounded or informed by place or region, intergenerational, inclusive and equitable, and transformational. So we really focus on leadership development, education, skill development for youth. And part of the program that Chiamo has been piloting and developing for the past 2 years is a fellowship model or learning journey, bringing youth along into this 6 core or guiding themes, starting with Indigenous knowledge and eco-mapping, active citizenship, storytelling, permaculture and agroecology, project solutioning, which is engaging with the on-the-ground projects that Project Biome is working with, especially in the South Africa and Mpumalanga region, and financial management and circular economics. So these were some of the main takeaways of the youth fellowship in 2024 and 2025. So again, I don't want to read the presentation because I know you all can do that yourselves, but one of the biggest takeaways has really been, as Shannon spoke to, that really came up in our group, has been finding the balance between the regional work and in-person trainings and how that connects to the amplification work or global work. So continuing to find the through lines between how can both the in-person trainings and the global amplifications inform each other, and so that none of them are operating in a silo. And I can share some specific examples here about the in-person work that has been done and continues in the Mpumalanga region. So some examples of that were workshops with youth, asking them, like, how would you put your village or community on the map? So a lot of webinars, conversations, amplification of that work, and relationship building. And also some micro grants or internship opportunities where youth can find initiatives or organizations to work with and be compensated for their time while they're also developing a specific skill or learning about what are the kinds of programs that are out there that they might be interested in, whether in a specific moment or to pursue in the long term, even exploring career options. So some of the outcomes from the Mpumalanga activations were some youth designed and implemented community events. We really saw this like strengthen place-based identity and pride. So a lot of like moving from this idea that's very present in some of the rural communities that we've worked with, that we need to develop out of a certain way of living in rural neighborhoods, and through some of the community events and activations, really seeing that shift to, oh, actually we have a lot of things that are very valuable in the community that we want to protect, that we want to share and amplify. So that was from a paradigm or mindset um, perspective, we saw that really shift. Yeah, so local talent stories, ecological awareness, and these in-person convenings really informed and continue to inform the long-term approach for the youth fellowship. One example of the digital global work in the context of the youth fellowship has been our collaboration with Green Action Week, both in 2025 and 2026. This is an initiative that's supported by the Swedish Society for Nature Conservation and Consumers International. And it brings together different voices, intergenerational voices. So like this most recent one that was in April was focused on intergenerational dialogue. So bringing in elders and youth to speak to different different topics and themes of what, and it was different for youth and for the elders, but really, really looking to cultivate these spaces for intergenerational dialogue, and mentorship. So this, I'll glance at that. These are some of the countries that were represented through Green Action Week. And there was both a webinar type dialogue and then continued engagement and relationship building amongst youth and elders that participated. Now, some of the key learnings that we really want to integrate into the next evolution of the youth initiative is the key insight that youth voices and perspectives are often excluded from strategy and decision making at a leadership level. So really looking for ways to bring in youth and offer a sit at the table so that their perspectives, their insights, and what they are excited to participate in can be incorporated from the beginning of a project and prioritized. We also saw the need for more connectivity amongst projects and youth so that it is more accessible for young people to know what are the projects that they might be able to be involved in? Are there internship opportunities? Are there exchange opportunities with other universities, both nationally and internationally? Mm, so again, both thematically and at a bioregional level. And also the need for youth to be linked with tangible work in the landscape. So again, in this threads between the global, mostly digital work and the in-person work, we as a core part of our program, we really want to find ways to support youth to be more hands-on involved in the in-person projects, not just digitally. Also because a lot of the communities that we work with, access to technology and internet is a big barrier for a lot of the work that we're doing. So the in-person component of the work is extremely important, especially in certain communities that we're working with. So right now, we continue to link worth with a lot of our in-person programs in South Africa. Right now, about 50 young people are engaged in the Social Employment Fund, which are receiving a monthly stipend of around $300 to compensate them for their involvement. And we are also developing a youth hub within the Biome Collective, which is a platform, a digital platform that we launched the beta for in April. That Julia, I don't want to put you on the spot, but if you feel inspired to speak to this piece because you've really been leading the work of the Biome Collective.
Sure.
Um,
I'll speak to it just in the context of this because I don't want to take up too much time on a different program, but to speak to what Alana was talking about of our youth programs being in a transitional time and really having an aspect of youth engagement and really intergenerational engagement across all of our work, because our work operates bioregionally and globally. We're also in this active like transition of how are we building that bridge. And so this platform, this digital platform called Biome Collective, which is both a community that we're cultivating globally, as well as a physical place, a digital place that's on mobile and desktop that we're building now. It's a place to convene where programming can be more ad hoc, similar to the way that people can engage in social media, but really curated for our sector and our space, with the kind of insights and relevance that both farmers and consumers need in one place. So creating a hub in that space allows for people to convene, allows for people to share, and also ideally cross-pollination, which is really the point of having this digital space of convening across different regions. I think that's all for now. Yeah. Happy to speak more about it as people are interested and as we develop it more. It's very much in a development phase. And as we want to bring more community members on, it's really going to be, our hope is that it's a collaboration tool.
Thanks, Julia. And finally, some of our priorities for the remainder of the year is I mean, and this also came up in our breakout room, but really expanding the ways in which we speak to youth to incorporate or to be included in spaces where youth already are present and interested in. So like Chiamo's shift to really start to be more focused on cultural convenings and incorporate not just the technical skill training, which will continue as part of our priorities, but also to start to incorporate things like music and celebration as part of the strategy to engage youth. Another platform that we're exploring, or the team in South Africa is exploring, is I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but Zilto.
Zilto.
Motto.
Zilto.
Motto.
Never. Got it.
Which is it's a tokenization platform to help track and incentivize youth. So through working on specific projects like nature-based solutions or agroecology, people can start to develop an impact CV and then use those tokens in exchange for basics such as like electricity, food parcels, and other retailers that have been onboarded to the platform. So we're really looking to this like tokenization strategy as a way to make it more attractive for youth to become involved in some programs. We will also continue to link bioregional stewards for mentorship in some of our existing programs. I want to see if there's some others. Oh, and finally, I forgot to add on the presentation, but some of the ways in which we're envisioning the youth hub within the Biome Collective is for young people to find like internship opportunities, volunteering opportunities, pathways for engagement across programs in the regenerate, reconnect, rewild space that Project Biome is involved with.